So for the walk, just so you know, the way we're going to do it, we're going to start closing each other in. So it's not going to be, we have person, dog, person is like the end result. Okay? We're going to start it with dog, person, dog. And we're going to slowly start closing the gap. Okay? The way we approach this is more so to build a relationship, some comfort with him and the other dog. Dogs don't naturally greet each other face to face. They do that because of the leash. So when people on the street, you see them like, oh, my dog meet your dog, it's usually like that. Which some dogs can handle it, like the happy-go-lucky, friendly ones, sure. But a lot of dogs, especially if they have anxiety, fear, nervousness, or any kind of like kind of boundaries, tend to not like that approach, which is perfectly fine because it's too confrontational. So for humans, we go, hi, how are you? We shake hands. That's how we greet. Dogs do not greet that way. Dogs are more so nose to butt. So that's why off-leash encounters are easier, because when they greet each other, typically they'll just go into that yin-yang kind of shape and check each other out. Sometimes you'll see them kind of run up to each other and shoulder each other up, right, where the dog's head's facing like this and they're doing this, right? Not the greatest approach. Some dogs do that. It's what I call an on-the-fence behavior, because sometimes it can become, it can escalate because it starts off with tension. So it's kind of like, you know, like two people just sizing each other up, but we do chest to chest, where dogs do shoulder to shoulder. Okay, so also part of the reason why some people will say my dog's great off leash, but on leash they're really bad. Okay, because they're not meant to greet on leash. The other thing is on leash, you remove flight response. So we have 4 responses to things: fight, flight, avoid, and submission. So if you remove that flight response and he can't run anywhere, then he's going to go into fight response. Okay, because it's kill or be killed in their world. So again, in my opinion, I go, it's not a bad thing. Once you understand how they operate, then it's like, oh, okay, makes sense. Then that's why I tell people, like, don't even worry about greeting on leash, because a lot of times it just escalates into tension. And I've even had people go like, oh, my dog's friendly, and then the other, my dog too, and they greet and they get in a fight, you know, because they don't know each other. So this exercise here, like, let's say you have a friend who has a dog, and you got it? Let's say you have a friend that has a dog, and maybe the first time you bring Gilmore to them, like it doesn't start off smooth, you can recover from it using this exercise. Okay? So when we socialize dogs, like, you know, we do the pack walks and all that stuff, is if we have a dog that's antisocial, one of the things we do is the walk with other dogs, because it's an activity so that they don't have to worry about that social aspect of it, you know, like being forced to have to greet the other dog type of deal. And we do this little by little. We close the gap. So what I'm going to do is I'll pair you guys up, because they've already done it before. So I'll have Mac go with Gilmore, and then we'll have Ollie go with Elsa here. Okay. I'll have you be on the outside with Ollie on the right to start. And I'll have you do the same since you've already done it before.
He's already on the right.
Oh, all right, there you go. See, that's why I planned it that way. And we'll start walking. We're gonna go down this way, and we're just gonna walk around Oz Park. We're gonna gradually close that gap. What you wanna watch for is, because it's gonna be dog, person, dog, is tension. Okay, so whenever we start closing the gap, you're gonna take a look at your dog, and I'll remind you guys, we're looking for the tail raising, hackles going up, ears going up, posture changing, anything like that that looks like tension is letting us know the dog's escalating. Okay, we can remote for that to stop the behavior, and then we just continue walking. And then as we see the dogs relax, we're going to slowly just close that gap. And towards the end or in the middle, we'll stop, have them kind of intermingle a bit, and see what we get. Okay? Questions? All right, so we'll start walking. So I'll have Kendall with Mac. You guys will lead, and then Ollie with Elsa in the back. Okay?
I'm on the left or right?
You're on the left. Oh yeah, Shelby and
no, you're good. Hey Jesse, is it okay on her nose?
So if she starts tap, 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 tap.
We have to melt it now.
Tap, 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 bump it. There you go. When she starts to bite the muzzle, you're gonna pull straight up and tap, okay? And then relax when she relaxes. She looks fine.
What?
Yeah. Tap, tap, tap. Keep moving, tap, tap, tap.
Really?
Relax. Up, keep moving, tap, tap. What's your number? Go up. What's your number now? What we're doing here is we're force conditioning, okay?
Yeah.
It's almost always happens, so don't worry about it. And go ahead and cut in front so you're in front of Bill here.
Okay.
Right, and then I'm sorry, you're gonna stay on the left, but you're gonna be in front. There you go. Forward. Tap, 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 tap. Relax your arm. Point it toward the leash a little bit. Tap, tap. Tap, 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 tap. There we go. Where you at now?
Hi, improve that. I would have one.
Let's go ahead another 10 levels. Alright. So, some of you guys have already heard this before because it's the same spiel. But I have to repeat it again. So, unless you guys want to say what I'm going to say. You'll remember what? What? Okay. So, as I mentioned earlier, dogs would agree face to face. And dogs do a very limited amount of activities. They walk, they eat, they play, they rest. They would hunt if they could. They use the bathroom, maybe a couple others. 3 of those activities are bonding activities. Remember what they are? Resting, playing. We're doing it. Walking. Okay. Keep forward, tap, 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 keep forward. Tap, 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 keep forward. Shorten your leash a little bit more. So you have more leverage over her when she's up, and then relax. Good. So, resting, playing, walking. Okay? In order for dogs to rest with each other, they have to trust each other. Playing, same thing, they have to trust each other. But walking, we can kind of force the situation like we're doing it now. So as humans, tap, tap, forward. Yep. As humans, we can do a lot of stuff to build relationships. You're good.
Okay.
You're good.
Okay.
We do a lot of things to build a relationship. Go to movies, go to dinner, talk on the phone, go for a walk. Yep. Keep forward. Tap, up forward. Tap, tap, tap. Tap, tap forward. Tap, tap forward. There you go. Relax. Good. So, we have a number of things that we can do, right, to build that relationship. So for dogs, very few. They don't play video games, they don't read books or anything like that. So walking, I find, is the best way to introduce them because it's a bonding activity. Get them used to being around each other without forcing that immediate contact. And I've made it spaced out because if we put them side by side right off the bat, we're going to we may possibly create some tension. So instead, I built some familiarity by slowly closing that gap between the 2 dogs together. And we're also burning off energy at the same time. So by the time we come to a stop, they would be in a resting state, and they've already been with each other. You guys can talk to this side one. They've already been with each other long enough that they don't see the other person or the other dog as like threatening. They've already been with the dog for 30 minutes or whatever. So,
do that every time though. So like if you walk with another dog 2 weeks in a row. If I were to associate with that kind of dog again, we would have to go through the walking process.
So what we're doing, is we would want to see Gilmore. Like let's say Gilmore has a dog that he's completely social with, and we see that dog, like his behavior changes, like he shakes his tail, very loose, he's very happy, right? Because he knows that dog, he's comfortable with the dog, and trusts that dog. You keep doing the same exercise with a particular dog, even if it doesn't go well the first time, you just keep repeating it, and And that's how you create comfort. Okay? So then maybe on the 20th time, you see Gilmore see that particular dog, and then he starts shaking his tail, and he's relaxed. Right? Now I still suggest doing the walk, you just don't have to do as long of a walk until I see consistency. Okay? In terms of letting him interact and all the loops and stuff. I would gamble that with Gilmore you're going to have a quicker turnaround because he already plays with dogs. It's just the introduction or the seeing them in the first part that's difficult for him, right? So I don't rush things. Everybody wants at the end of the walk. Our dogs are playing, running around and stuff. And that's for the human. The dogs don't care. Like Gilmore doesn't walk away going, damn it, I need to play with dogs today, right? That's the human. So we got a dog coming up over there. So eventually that may come. It doesn't always happen. Some dogs, I had one dog in particular I trained many years ago who was a very anxious, reactive dog. We're going to make the left here. Hugging. Here, watch this dog here. Left turn. There you go. Very anxious dog that would just go out. Like the moment he was outside, just start barking. Go ahead and move the ollie and neck to the inside on the left. No. Yeah, you're gonna keep on your side. Keep your left handle. There you go. They're just gonna move the dogs closer. There you go. Keep your left. There you go. Now we got person, dog, person, dog. There we go. So, they lived across the street from a dog park, so their dog wasn't aggressive. He was just super anxious and very reactive. And they're like, oh, like he's super socially awkward. He's not aggressive, he just doesn't interact. And I told him, well, you live across the street from the dog park, so every day just go to the dog park for 15 minutes. And I kid you not, it was like a year that they texted me a picture of him finally playing with the dog. After a year of going to the dog park every day for 15 minutes. But then 3 months later, they're like, and he would only play with one dog. And 3 months later, it was another dog. And then a month later, it was like another dog. And he started to open up, okay? But it took him a really long time and a lot of consistency of taking him to the dog park before he opened up to other dogs. But there was no, I told him, like, there's no time limit here. If it's in the dog, it'll pop up, but don't count on it to pop up, okay? And in their case, it just took a really long time. So, that's why if you have friends with dogs, that's much more realistic is what I tell everybody. Like, I don't worry about dog park dogs because there's so many variables there. And people bring dogs that shouldn't be there and they can't control their dogs and all this other stuff. But definitely socializing with a friend's dog is much more realistic when you see the dog put down again. There's a level of control over that dog. You can put them on a leash and all that stuff. And we also want to think about the energy. So here everybody's in a passive state. And now that we've knocked out Elsa's resistance, she's in a passive state, right? Okay, that's good. Like all the stuff she was doing is good. Okay? Because for these guys, changes in energy can create reactivity. Okay? Because they're going, like earlier, remember with Mac and Gilmore when she was like jumping around? And she wasn't even doing that much energy as she was earlier, but it was bothering them. So, and even though these guys are in front, they still sense it. Okay? You get under control, everybody gets settled, and they're learning to get around that type of energy. Okay? So if you go into a social setting where, like, let's say we had a yard where we could take these dogs in, right? And maybe they're fine with each other, they're passive, but then Gilmore decides that he wants to zoom around. That's where I would anticipate that's going to be a problem. Okay, so they're fine with each other now because everything is calm. Okay, that's when I expect there to be tension. So I don't count on, oh, they're in the yard together and they're being relaxed, that they're completely fine. There's context. Okay, that's one of them. The shift in energy. Resources, like if there's water around and stuff like that. So if two dogs going to the same water bowl, I expect tension.
Yeah.
The third one is if like Gilmore's sitting at your feet spindle and a dog that you just met approaches you, he may not like that because they're moving into your personal space. That becomes another issue. Okay? So people tend to take it as, oh, they're fine with each other, so they must be fine with everything, and that's not the case. Okay, so it's step by step. So then we want to be proactive, and if I see that setting about to happen or happening, I address it by either stopping that dog or removing my dog, the dog that I expect to be an issue with, out of my personal space.
If you're trying to like get the muscle kind of adjusted on my leg, do I tap for that?
No, that'll set her off. Just pull her to the side with your. Chances are, after today, it's going to be a big issue with the muzzle. But now you know how to force it.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have to. The reason for moving while she bites the muzzle is because it's awkward for a dog to bite the muzzle and walk at the same time.
Right.
I had to shorten the leash so that you could pull up to keep her away and keep those front paws off the ground because you're continuing to make it awkward. And the remote is making her remove her paws.
Right.
She has to remove her paws. People tend to remove the paws for the dog, and they keep doing it. So once you force them and go, nope, you're going to give it up, then we get the acceptance. Okay? But I always tell everybody, I'm like, muzzle train your dog because it makes life easier. I've had dogs rip off 2 paws, rip off nails, scratch their face. Yep.
Yeah. She was like 10 minutes good, and then that was the night that she progression. And that was the night. Okay, well.
Do you have any questions? What we're going to do on this turn is now we're going to bring the outside dogs. You're going to stay where you are. So Gilmore's going to go over to your right side, and Elsie's going to come on your right side as well. Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Say that again?
This way.
You're switching outside.
Oh. Yeah.
There we go. And shorten your leash. You may have to swap your hands, so make sure that your right hand is going to your left hand. There you go. And what we're trying to avoid here is any face-to-face. Okay, so if you see them going face-to-face, pull into you, and tap, start to behavior, okay? Because face-to-face is confrontational.
What number should I have right now?
You can different, tap. What's your number now?
33.
Go to 25. And okay, brindle. So what I want is like this, here, like how close we are, and then not tearing. Okay. So here, like let's say, as you're walking, and we did this, I'm looking for signs of tension because I'm closing that forward hip.
He was
You
looking
got it,
at
and
him.
relax.
Do I tap her if she's looking at him?
Forward. This is okay. Relax your left arm. There you go. Good. Yeah, so if you see the head turn
Yeah.
or the looking and staring, you
Yeah.
tap it forward. Okay? Just this way. And there you go. Slow. There you go. Good. All right. Yeah, so we correct any face-to-face stuff.
Okay.
Okay? So that's going to be confrontation. That's fine. Yeah, I mean, because there's no comfort there yet. So in order for them to deal with the situation, he's going, I normally close this other dog, but I want you to look this way and pretend they're not there. That's avoidance behavior. It's normal in the beginning. And that's why, we do this exercise to create just that comfort of like, oh, like I walked next to this dog like 20 times, and it's runaway cross. It's not a good problem.
He's like literally hugging.
Yeah, it's because he's next to Elsa here, so it's okay. And even like if you end up with a bad moment, like let's say a dog becomes reactive, right? You just correct it and keep it going. Most people separate dogs when something goes south.
Yeah.
So the last thing the dog remembers is I lunged and barked at you and I got pulled away. That's what I wanted, right? Whereas I correct it and I keep them in the setting. So then the dog thinks like, oh crap, like I didn't get my way and I have to deal with you for another half an hour, okay? So like let's say, for instance, here with Gilmore and Mac, a lot of dogs, let's say we still had him on the outside, right? And we moved Mac in the inside, so it would be dog, person, Yep, you got it. Good, relax, good, keep moving. And let's say Gilmore's hackles went up because Mac got a little bit closer. He's telling us he's uncomfortable with the situation the way it is. During the course of that round of the walk, maybe those hackles go down, but then he gets used to like, oh, it's not a big deal, right?
If they went up, I would correct myself.
Yes and no. With the hackle, and we're gonna touch the shoulder, the mohawk. Maybe take a break a little bit so you can pull off.
Okay.
You could technically, right? Because if you keep repeating this and the hackle always go up, we're not making any progress. You could correct. But it's such a low level behavior that I tend to let it go. See if the dog resolves itself. Okay? And then we move on to the next step, and now they're side by side. I look at those hackles again, or I look at the tail, or whatever, the ears, the eyes, all that stuff. Change. And let's go ahead and get some space. Yep, keep going. You're going to watch your dogs here. There you go. Good job. A little stimulation there from Mac. Maybe we would correct or whatever. If there was anything there, we just keep them moving. If the dog's having too much of a problem with that next step, then I take a step forward, and I wrap up the walk that way. I don't end it there. Okay, try not to end the walk or the activity on a negative note. That's the last thing dogs are going to remember. So then, like, let's say these guys had a little tip, we separated them, and then we try this thing later, they're going to jump right into it. It's like, oh, that's where we left off. And this is one thing, like, people that with dogs within the home, I've had like 6, maybe 8 cases in the past year of dogs home fighting each other. And every time I ask them, like, what did you do when that fight happened? They go, we split them up. And now every time they see each other, they want to kill each other. I'm like, yeah, the last thing you remember is trying to kill each other. So, I stopped the fight, I stopped the aggression, and I make them sit with each other for another at least half an hour if possible. So the last thing to remember is, yeah, we got in a fight, but we ended up having to, we had to stick with each other.
So do they usually fight again after you put them together again?
Depends.
Okay.
So what happens typically is everybody gets complacent and they think it's going to be back to how it was, and it's not how it works. Then usually a year or two later, there's an issue.
Okay.
And then it's almost always like they were doing so great, and we weren't watching, and then this happened. So that's why I tell people out there with home dogs, big fighting. Hello. This is what I normally see. Just give you a heads up.
Okay. But when they're fighting in that moment, and then the fight ends, and then they're together, like directly after, they are usually not gonna fight again. Like,
If you shut it down correctly. If you shut it down correctly, like if you're using remote and you make them surrender, then yeah, that's whatever. Those are completely passive. But most people like pull their dogs apart and they try to calm them down themselves. That typically doesn't bode. See how this looks here. If this looks clear, we'll stop for a little rest break, okay?
Okay. water if I can remember.
No, it's like she's a long haired girl. Alright. So we can, these guys are doing pretty good. So here, did you want to get your water?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Here, I'll just go with it. Come on up.
So here what we do with these guys is go ahead and bring Gilmore like here in the center. And I can show you another way of, because I think last time we did the nose to butt as we were walking. There's another way of going about it. So what I'll have you do is with your leash, you're gonna grab up close to Gilmore's collar, like real close, right there. Okay, then that's gonna be with your right hand. So you're crossing over, yeah. Okay. Like that, okay? And then with your left hand, you're gonna take underneath his ribs on his bottom of his stomach, you're gonna pull up and you're gonna kind of hug him lightly against your left leg.
On its outer side.
Yeah.
Get him to stand.
Right, so you're gonna lift up so that you got him in a standing position. There you go. Okay, you're just gonna keep him up. So you want to keep that hand there.
Okay.
So that it keeps him standing. There you go. And then keep him up as best you can. Okay. And then what we would do is we would come around with Mac, okay? And we're gonna watch Gilmore here. So you're hugging a lot to the front, you wanna go towards the back. There you go. And then to your left leg. There you go, like that. Okay. Bring him a little bit more forward on Gilmore. There you go. Good. Right. A slight sniff. We're watching Gilmore here. Careful. What? You see that head turn? There you go. Right. There you go. That's a lot better for Gilmore.
What's hurting you? Alright, come up.
Let's try with Ollie. We're gonna bring Ollie in.
Gilmore?
Yeah, and then we'll move back out.
Yeah. Mine is my arm. This is totally normal for them, right? Like this is how they.
Right, you're recreating the nose to butt, but this is a different, how'd you say, approach. There we go. And what I'm looking at is how Gilmore feels about that. So, and you can relax now.
I can.
You can, yeah.
Now you see it.
I'll show you. Can I show it back? So here. Obviously, dogs don't hold each other really good, right? Is I do this, okay? So I'm keeping, if we need to, the butt up, because what happens is when they're antisocial, the butt goes down. Okay, so you try to tuck in a bit, right?
Okay.
So then here, what we're doing is with this hand, it's short, so in case something tries to happen this way, he's not gonna get anywhere, okay? Here, kind of how do you say, bracing him. And then here, so in case, again, he tries to whip around, everything is working to my advantage.
Okay.
Dogs can't direct this way very well. Okay? So as soon as I do this, even if he tries to whip around, he's gonna have this leash here countering his head, because he's not gonna go inwards. He's gonna go outwards towards the dog. Okay? So once I do this, and I have the body here pressed against here, and the head is immobilized because of the shortness of the leash, it gives me much more leverage. If I had it like this, no bueno, right there. Okay, and I'm not tense. I'm relaxed as I'm holding. Okay, so I don't want to be like this. See how like all that tension there?
Yeah.
That's going to create a negative experience. So I'm nice and relaxed. Everything's short. So even if there's a moment, I'm still going to catch it, and I can force the butt sniff, and you can see how the dog feels about it. When Mac went up to Gilmore, Gilmore kind of looked back and like tucked in a bit and was like, what? And then we pushed through it. This guy sniffed a tiny bit. He didn't have anything else to do with it. We pull him out. Then we try with Ollie. Ollie, Gilmore was much more relaxed with. Okay, so let's try We'll do Ollie with Mac and then Gilmore with Mac, okay? Go ahead, Shelby.
Yeah.
Go ahead and bring Ollie in. A little bit more in. You hear that silence? Now the panting. Okay, you see how he's curving his head a little bit? Because he's just going, how do I feel about it? Just checking out the situation. Goes back to panting. He doesn't really care here. Okay, I'll try one more time with Ollie.
It's the hard part.
Let's try Gilmore.
Try Gilmore.
Yeah.
Right.
Not having it at all.
It's okay. Because he touched them. I mean, Gilmore touched Mac. Okay? So that's why there was that quick moment of tension, right? And then I just, get up. Tapped them to settle the nerves there. Try one more time. There. You see that flinch? So even the touching here is an issue. But as soon as I do this, boom. Right? He puts his butt down. And that's antisocial behavior. So the human equivalent would be if you said, hi, how are you? And someone didn't reciprocate.
Okay.
They just kept their
Okay.
handshake down. They're like, no.
Okay.
Right? That's the equivalent.
Okay.
When the butt goes down, the dog's trying to approach, they're nope. So that's the antisocial behavior. So that's when I start to use stuff like this. Where I'll force the butt up
Okay.
to make the brain have to do it. Otherwise, if you try to let the dog do it on their own, sometimes you can use your foot to like wedge in between to pop the butt up, but then you're giving too much leverage for them to go sideways.
Okay.
So I like that pin, and I just sit there and I'm just like nice and relaxed and allow it to happen. If anything happens, I can always counter the dog. Not gonna get very far.
Okay.
You want to try that with Ollie, and we'll have the others try it.
Had the other sniff his butt? you
Correct.
think? Yeah. Stay.
And then you want to hold him like I had Max. So
Oh, keep holding him like that?
leash to the right. Yep. Let's start with Elsa.
Okay, and just letting it go on.
Correct. Which they're probably not going to do, by the way. But it's okay. Right, and you're going to shorten your leash just a little bit with Elsa.
Okay.
And you're going to just, don't worry about heel, just walk forward. And then use your leash. Pull, pull, pull. Pull, pull, pull. Pull, pull, pull. Right? You might even have to use your hands to kind of, your left arm, kind of like what she's doing. There she goes. Was there a tap there?
No.
Okay. Pull a little bit more forward. Right? That's
Sorry.
and just relax. So you can see all the resistance coming in. Why?
Probably because I haven't let her interact with other dogs.
Right, she's antisocial. She's uncomfortable. Like going back to earlier with the social bubble, and wanting to stay out of it, this is the same thing, but now you're closing that gap even more. Okay? Let's go to remove Elsa. We'll try with Mac. Shorten your leash a wee bit more with Mac. There you go. Good. And relax. Okay. Good. See what happens. But you see now how he looks up, right at the handler. Like he's not really wanting to look at Ollie because of the presence. So that's just the awkwardness. That's the avoidance stuff. Okay. Now Gilmore.
I love it. We're all in awkward class together. Come on. Deal.
Good. I'll try one more time. There it is. Good. All right, and remove. Very good. So what we're doing here, and you can relax, Lolly, is you can see where the dogs are, right? Like he's kind of half. He did a couple of sniffs. Clearly not having it, at least not right now. Mac gave a little bit. Ollie was like kind of second place. But when we're doing this, you're reading both dogs because we're dealing with 4 antisocial dogs here. So for Ollie, he was great. There was no real qualms with it. He let you hold him up. He wasn't trying to tuck the butt in. which in the other, because you've done this is your third time, right?
Yeah.
The other 2 times too, same thing, right? He was relaxed. It wasn't a big problem for him.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. That he's fine with like the approaching and stuff. He's like, that doesn't bother me. But for the other guys, because it's something new that they've not done, it's an issue for them. Okay. So as you repeat this, I would ideally want to see more curiosity with the sniffing, because that's the who are you. I've seen you 100 times. Who are you? Okay. And it should start looking a lot more natural. We're not having to force it, where it's just like, oh, okay, sure, I'm gonna approach and I'm gonna sniff. Okay. For the dog that's being sniffed, we're looking for the butt going down. We're looking for the head turning, grumbling, growling, the typical culprits, ears up, hackles, all that stuff. Those are all the same. But there's a couple other things that we look for, like the butt going down. For the approaching dog, in Elsa's case, I don't want to go any closer. We're already 4 feet away from this dog, right? So then we're looking for her just going into the space, no problem. Even if you don't see sniffing, her moving into the space easily is progress, okay? Because it's not going to just jump to the end result. Afterwards with Mac, you know, like he was right there next to, was it Ollie or whatever, and she's like looking away, still pretending like you're not here. You know, looking for kind of like how he's not avoiding anybody in terms of how he's looking and stuff. See how this guy, he might be looking at that dog. If that dog wasn't there, I would think he knows these 3 are here, so he's looking this way too as avoidance behavior. Okay, so all those little things tell you where the dog's at mentally, and you're always just looking for relax, like, you know, real relaxed, social, typical behavior. Like, is Diesel social?
Yeah, he's fine.
So you have like a reference point there, right, where he just shows up like, hey guys, what's up? And that's it. Sniffs dogs, they sniff him. Okay, no problem. We go. Okay. Questions about that?
It's just frequency to a point up.
Repetition. Yeah, I don't know how many times it's going to be.
Yeah.
You know, but this is the baseline structure that we use. So like I have 3 clients actually live like right here in Lakeview, and I put them in contact with each other. And I'm like, look, you guys can socialize your dogs together. You're going to be much more likely to have a success or have success because you could keep doing this with each other. And there's no, how would you say, they all have remote collar and all that stuff. So they have a lot of control. And then it might be 100 times, it might be 50 times, it might be 10 times first time, it might never happen. You know, every case is different. You also got to think about the dog's energy. If you bring in a puppy type, very excited, jumping all over the place energy, less likely to happen off the bat. I prefer calmer energies in the beginning, get them used to that, very non-threatening, and then you build up to other types. Okay? We'll continue the walk some more, and then we'll probably make another stop and break to see if we can see how they intermingle a bit. Okay?
Okay.
We'll do Mac Gilmore and then Ollie.
Heel.
Yeah, it's waterproof.
So remote it too?
Yeah. Just have to make sure that tab is closed.
Yeah.
Parking tab. I think a client that walked away and hurt in her collar. And it started misfiring. And she set it aside and let it dry out or whatever for like a day or so.
Yeah.
And then it was fine.
I feel like put it down to miles the other day, and I was like,
Yeah. Oh,
I was
well.
like, is the battery low?
No. Yeah.
And then I figured out, like, oh.
Well, you can get this and drink it.
I know.
I'm fairly certain that I'm gonna check his collar before we stop too.
I trained it a little bit, yeah.
The key collar?
Yeah.
Pretty sure that's you learn it and repeat it. I've been doing this for like 10 years now. So like when I would get dropped when I used to like real small operating for my home and stuff. Like when they dropped off an aggressive dog, I always plan it and then I take them all off for a walking list. And that was like stuff.
I'm in West Loop. Oh, okay.
Kind of just relax and see if the dogs will settle next to each other. So for you, Kendall, do you have a yard?
Yeah, there's trees all over it, but
Okay. What I would do is if you had a friend like you just exercise with, is after the walk you go into the yard, have the visiting dog go in first, and then you come in with Gilmore. And depending on how everybody feels, you can let the leash go slack, kind of let them like intermingle and stuff. You want to do visiting dog first, because sometimes when the dog that resides there goes in first, they'll whip around and be territorial. So you avoid that by doing it that way. And I would keep doing that until from this stuff up here, until you see, like I said, that looseness where he's like kind of excited to see the dog. Technically, yes, but what ends up happening is, as he starts to open up, there we go. Watch here. What we should see is that process gets shorter and easier. Because he's like, oh, I've done this before.
yeah.
You know. Because I do the same thing with humans, like dogs that are human aggressive. Once we get them over that initial hump of like just tolerating me, which is a chore for the dog a lot of times, is once they can tolerate me, we start having people come in, like normal, like how the family typically go about it with people coming over. And it's literally like the social bubble just grows to like one person to another person to another person, and sometimes it just opens up. And the dog's like, oh, cool, like I love people. But it's just that hesitation and resistance. Once we get over that, it tends to go pretty quick, okay? If you have that type of dog. And it's either they do or they don't. There's like no real like in between. But yeah, it's this simple.
Okay.
Questions about this?
You're saying it'll be similar for other dogs, like if we start the intro thing, like with dogs and humans. Are you saying with like once
Right,
they start
so-
expanding their network of
Yes.
being familiar with other dogs?
Yes. Once they
Okay.
get over the first dog or first person is always the hardest.
Yeah.
So like the dog I told you about earlier, that it took him a year.
Yeah.
And then 3 months later, it was another dog, and a month later, it was another dog, right? Like, but it was a year. And they're going every day to the dog park.
Yeah.
And this dog was completely socially awkward. Like, you would see him at the dog park, and he'd just be sitting there, like, looking at everybody. Like, it was very clear that the dog did not know what to do. With humans, it's a little bit easier because you can coach the human on what to do and make things very specific, right? In terms of the approach for dogs, obviously, you can't structure it to that degree. But it's literally like this. We go dog, person, person, dog. Then it's dog, person, then person, dog, person. Okay? And if it's not going well at this stage, go back to the previous stage. Keep it going another few blocks. Ideally, at least 45 minutes to an hour. If you have to rush through it, 10, 15 minutes, but not progressing past the discomfort. Because if they're not ready for side by side, when you try to go to stiff butt, you're gonna have a problem. Then I go, all right, this is where we end today. I'll see you next time. And you repeat it, picking up from like where you left off, and gradually you should see some comfort. Okay. And I think I told Shelby, but I'm gonna make on my Facebook business page like a kind of community for all my clients if they want to socialize their dogs and stuff. Watch here. That it was good. It was sniffing, but there was the face-to-face how close it was. Okay, but that was good. So, like a community for like you guys. Like, so if you look in her mouth, she's panting, nice and relaxed, right? She's not really staring. She's actually staring across the street there. And Ollie, of course, same way. He's just chill. The way he's sitting too, the way she's sitting, the way Gilmore's sitting.
But if her mouth is closed and she's doing like
that's tension,
there, then
but it doesn't mean tapped.
Okay.
Because it could be just, she's just saying this is stressing me out.
Yeah.
But then if she resolves it and goes panning, then it means it just made her uncomfortable, but she let it go. Okay. So it's an on defense behavior.
Okay.
It may happen, it may not happen. Okay.
So you don't want us correcting them until they're like super.
Unless you feel like it's gonna happen. Correct. You're trying to not issue any taps because you don't know where it's gonna go.
Okay.
But if it looks like it's going, that's why I say if it's not going smooth here, don't worry about the next step. Okay, go back a step.
Okay.
Repeat that. Okay. Time is always, how do you say, super important here.
Yeah.
I don't ever rush into anything. Like we have dogs that come to our daycare that are very playful with their owners, but with us, because we're like the police, they're very kind of self-conscious of what they do. And they open up very slowly at our facility because it's so strict. They're like, I don't want to get out of line. Well, we don't rush them.
Okay.
You know, we just go, take your time.
Okay.
You'll let us know when you're ready.
Okay.
Other questions?
So, sorry, if I'm walking, or we're walking and dog's coming up, because I've been at the side, like just having her sit at the side. So if she's staring at him then, that's fine too. And I allow her to like
As long as it's not like a stare to like turn to like,
right, then
yeah,
it's fine.
you know.
Okay.
Or if it's like a stare the entire time, I
Yeah.
might disengage it because it's like the entire like 2 blocks that you walk, she's staring at the other dog.
Yeah.
No bueno.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. There you go. Other questions?
Because he's so used to the left side, I would always just have the other, or I would ask that the other.
Yeah. Or you can bring them to your right side because you're doing it. I just want the dogs to do it.
Okay.
Okay.
And
So
if he
it's just
resists moving to the right side, I'm tapping and pulling.
Correct.
That's my command. Okay.
right bunch here. Good. So he did a sniff, and then I don't know if you saw that little flinch, right? This is all normal stuff. Because he's on edge, because he's like, I'm really close to a dog, but so far it's been not threatening. But touch is like the next degree of comfort. Okay? Other questions? Do a little family photo here. There, that's a good one.
Want me to get one with you in it?
Do you want me to crouch down?
I think she's purposely.
Oh, sure. Yeah, let's try a crouch. There we go. Oh, look at that. You're a genius. There we go. Hey. Tap, 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 tap. Okay. Good.
Do you crouch again?
Did you get the picture?
We're gonna say this is before. Hold up. There it is.
Is it on camera?
No, but I got the look.
Okay.
Okay, it's okay. So bring them in again.
Put them side by side?
Yes. Relax. Up, tap. Good. Watch. Tap. For Mac tap. There you go. And then what we're gonna do is you're gonna take Gilmore and you're just gonna like step to the side and use your hand and body to push them in. Okay.
I think that's a dance move.
There you go. A little bit more in. Right there. Good. Wait a moment. Up. Crouch.
I feel like when I tap him,
Okay.
he gets more.
It's okay. Crouch.
Both of us?
So I'm gonna put a little spiel going. We had a moment right after this, or before this, or whatever. There we go. So if shit goes south, recover from it. Okay, that's why I'm here today.
Put them back next to each other.
Okay, because for him, one, it was resolved. Okay, because he's like, yeah, the dog attempted, it was corrected, the energy was controlled, and then putting back in again, and then nothing happened. Okay. For him, he goes, oh, I tried it, I got corrected, I had to back off, and you see how he's completely turning away from Gilmore? Because he's going, I fucked up. Okay. That's how we work through this stuff.
Should I try turning him sideways or just leave him?
I'd leave it at this. I mean, you could, but you're not. Right? You're going a little bit slower.
Would us crouching down, is that what set him off?
No, I think it was more so when you guys crouched down, the dogs turned to each other, and there was a face-to-face moment. Let me look at the picture. And we got it on film. So,
Go back.
yeah, that was the before. Okay. A little bit face-to-face. You can see the look there. So that's why, like earlier, it happened 2 times, but then it was resolved. And the 3rd time, it escalated. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So then I go, correct. We push through it. So the last thing he remembers is I tried something and I got actually corrected for it. Now, in my book and in my opinion, the attempt, people are like, oh shit, he tried to buy a dog. I'm like, yeah, that means it's in his head still. Yeah. So, like, that's why I have my bite suit, so I can come in and dogs can bite me, and then we can correct them before the act of biting. You know, as opposed to having a muzzle, they don't have that opportunity, right? So when they're actively latched onto me, and I'm like, all right, someone's gonna win this battle, and it ain't gonna be you. The dog, it really changes the psychology because they're like, holy shit, I gave you 100% of what I can do. You didn't back off. I had to back off. I got corrected for biting you. That's how dogs handle it. So don't look at it as a step back. I go, great, you tried it and you got corrected. Because this is stuff that you can't do, obviously, when you're walking and you pass by a dog and he's lunging, right? So now in his head, he's like, I tried the ultimate. It didn't happen, and I got corrected, and I had to sit next to the dog. That's how that works.
So when they do that, do you do continuous?
No,
What do
she
you do?
just tapped on, like, what number is you at?
Okay.
95. And you saw how quick he just,
Oh, you had it at 95 ahead of time.
yeah,
With the next one.
yeah. Don't always think
I
continuous.
gotta hike mine up.
Yeah. Continuous is oh shit scenario.
They run away.
Run away, or
Yeah.
like, let's say in off-leash.com, she's without muzzle,
Yeah.
and she's going for the attack.
Okay.
There, because you can't gamble
Right.
this. Because here, we're not worried about
Biting.
fighting or anything, because we have both dogs muzzled.
Okay.
So that gives us a little bit of gray area.
Okay.
But yeah,
It goes for 10 seconds, right?
12.
Okay.
As long as you hold it down, it's going off. The moment you let it go, it stops.
Got it.
So in your boxes, there should be a little device. It's like a little clear device. Take that device, put it on your e-collar. It's gonna make touch with the 2 contact points, and hit continuous. And you'll see it light up, because it's showing you the current, okay? And you'll hold it down, and then if you're just experimenting with like letting go and stuff, it'll give you an idea of how it operates. Okay? Alrighty. So, good session. Alright. If you ladies need anything else, so you let me know. Otherwise, we'll be in touch, okay?
Okay.
Alright, awesome.